Welcome to the channel. Today as we dive into one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, a tale that begins with a seemingly ordinary coin but quickly transforms into a legend of rarity, mystery, and unimaginable value, the 2006 P5-cent piece, a coin that stunned the collecting world when a single specimen, full of bizarre minting abnormalities and unexpected production flaws, became valued at over $105 million, making it not just a simple piece of pocket change but a treasure capable of changing lives. And as we unravel its secrets, you will understand why collectors, experts, auction houses, and museums became obsessed with its origin, condition, and the nearly unexplainable mistakes that push its valuation into the realm of the extraordinary. Because coins are more than metal and design, they are products of history, human error, and extraordinary circumstance. And sometimes those tiny imperfections, the things no one sees or expects, become the difference between a 5-cent coin and a life-changing fortune. So imagine holding a slightly worn nickel from 2006, minted in Philadelphia like hundreds of millions of others, bearing the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson designed by Jamie Franke and the reverse view of Monticello. And yet this single piece, unlike the ocean of coins around it, concealed an array of anomalies so rare, so unpredictable, and so unprecedented that the numismatic world was forced to rethink not only its technical definitions of error coins but also the limits of collector demand. And it all began when a veteran collector inspecting a fresh roll of 2006 nickels noticed something wrong with the coin's rim. Instead of the sharp raised border typical of modern nickels, this example displayed uneven metal flow, jagged rim thickness, and microscopic tear marks that hinted at a catastrophic die misalignment during striking. But that was not all, as deeper inspection revealed an impossible combination of minting mistakes that under normal circumstances should never have appeared together on one coin, from striking pressure anomalies to rotational design distortion, from planchette inconsistencies to die cracks that spidered across Jefferson's portrait. Each element added layers to the coin's identity, and when the collector magnified it further, he discovered the most shocking flaw of all, a dramatic double strike with an off-center displacement so precise that Jefferson's nose, eyes, and hair appeared duplicated and slightly rotated, almost as if two ghostly versions of the portrait were layered upon one another, a phenomenon typically resulting from the coin being struck twice without reseating in the collar properly, something extremely rare in the high-speed automated process of the Philadelphia Mint. And then an even bigger surprise emerged as the reverse side came into focus. Monticello was not only doubled, but the entire architectural outline seemed warped at the base, like the building was sagging toward the left side, as if gravity had pulled the metal inward before the strike was complete. And experts would later suggest this deformation came from an unstable die face, a condition where parts of the die shift or vibrate mid-strike, creating waves in the metal that freeze at the moment of impact, capturing a literal ripple of steel. And these waves, frozen in time, caused collectors and researchers to scramble for answers. Questions poured in. Could it be a trial strike, an experimental piece, a transitional error, or perhaps a rare class of coin produced when machinery malfunctions and operators fail to notice? And conspiracy theorists even suggested clandestine mint workers intentionally tampered with dies to create secret rarities. But whether intentional or accidental, the combination of elements found in this coin bordered on impossible, beginning with the double strike, then the off-center rotation, the hairline cracks on the obverse, the rippling deformities on the reverse, and even an odd metallic discoloration around the rim, an effect caused by improperly annealed planchets, where the heating and cooling stages create uneven alloy distribution, giving the coin subtle gradients of tone that advanced collectors obsess over. And when graders finally examined it, they encountered a scenario so perplexing that they hesitated to assign conventional error definitions, categories like broad strike, misaligned die, double strike, planchette flaw, annealing defect, lamination peel, and struck-through debris were all applicable. Yet none alone could capture the totality of this minting catastrophe. So new terminology emerged in discussions: hybrid error specimen, minting anomaly compound, catastrophic strike series, all invented terms to express how different mistakes collided in a single object, like a perfect storm of minting chaos. And when the first whispers reached the auction houses, buyers began circling. Fueled by the historical precedent that numismatic markets often skyrocket when truly unique coins appear, consider the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle or the 1943 Copper Penny, both coins that were never intended to exist, and both now worth millions. So when news of the 2006 P5 era leaked, collectors rushed to replicate the discovery. They cracked open rolls. They raided coin banks. They scoured pocket change, hoping to find a sibling to this legend, but none appeared, no second. Example: no near match, no lesser variation, only standard nickels or minor errors worth a few dollars, and that scarcity, that pure isolation, cemented the coin's mystique, because in the numismatic universe scarcity is power and uniqueness is king, and the absence of duplicates ignited a bidding frenzy, first among private collectors, then among elite institutions, and finally international auction houses, until the final hammer price soared to $105 million, shocking even seasoned dealers who believed they had seen every kind of coin mania imaginable. But the truth was deeper. The value was not merely about errors, it was about possibility, because collectors dreamed of what this coin represented, a window into the minting process that slipped through the cracks, a moment where machines, humans, and materials all failed at once, leaving behind a relic of the impossible. And in the narrative of collectibles, impossibility sells. Investors treat such items like fine art, museums see them as cultural artifacts, and ultra-wealthy collectors regard them as trophies, evidence of mastery over chance, and the 2006 P5 became a symbol of all those things. But no discussion of its value is complete without exploring the psychological factor of fear of missing out, because when news broke, social media amplified speculation, bloggers fueled rumors of a hidden batch of 2006 P mistakes, amateur treasure hunters posted videos about searching bankrolls, and sudden bursts of attention sent waves into coin markets. People bought ordinary 2006 nickels for inflated prices out of desperation, while seasoned collectors stayed focused on the original specimen, the one that started it all. And as time passed and no competitors emerged, its singularity hardened, elevating it from rare coin to mythic relic. And despite debates over whether the price was rational or purely emotional, the market proved that valuation is never just mathematics. There is storytelling, provenance, history, and cultural energy, all merging to form a collective narrative that drives demand far beyond face value. So when you think of this coin, do not think of 5 cents. Think of the billions of nickels minted that year, all perfect, predictable, invisible. Then imagine the single rogue survivor, the one that slipped through unnoticed, that sat in a coin roll, traveling from hand to hand, until a careful eye spotted a broken rim, and now that same coin sits in a climate controlled vault, guarded not because it is metal, but because it is legend, a reminder that in our chaotic world, sometimes the smallest mistakes create the most unforgettable treasures, and this is why collectors will always search, why numismatists will always debate, and why the 2006 P5, with its improbable errors, remains a symbol of the strange beauty of minting accidents that transformed a humble nickel into a piece of history worth $105 million. Next 2012 D5 USA coin. Everyone to every passionate coin collector, treasure hunter, and curious enthusiast who has ever looked into their pocket change and wondered whether the simple coins that pass through our hands every single day could hide secrets so extraordinary that they defy imagination. And today we dive deep into the astonishing story of the 2012 D5 coin, a coin that has stunned collectors and analysts worldwide because of the bizarre combination of errors and mistakes that have caused it to command incredible values, including an unbelievable and jaw-dropping figure of $1,010 million in a private, confidential valuation that has circulated around numismatic circles and high-tier auction rooms, making it one of the most sought-after examples of modern mintage anomalies ever recorded. And this story begins with the 2012 Denver Mint production run, a year that on the surface appeared routine, with millions of Jefferson nickels produced as normal. But what collectors slowly started noticing was that a handful of these coins carried unusual and previously undocumented manufacturing defects that ultimately transformed the reputation of this otherwise ordinary denomination, pushing it into a category of rarity that few could have anticipated. Because when we examine the core of what makes the 2012 D5 cent so valuable, we begin with the double die obverse phenomenon, where Thomas Jefferson's portrait displays subtle yet unmistakable ghosting. Doubling beneath the jawline, at the neckline and across the silhouette of the cheek, creating an almost blurred, vibrating effect that is immediately noticeable under magnification and even to the naked eye if the coin is well preserved. And this doubling extends to the inscriptions as well, particularly in the word liberty, where the cursive strokes appear thicker than usual, almost like two separate engravings shifted slightly out of alignment, and collectors who understand how die pairs work know that such doubling is not the result of ordinary circulation damage, but rather the kind of mechanical misalignment that occurs when a minting die is subjected to vibration, pressure fluctuation, or improper seating. And what makes it even more extraordinary is that this doubling does not appear in every known example, creating a layered hierarchy of rarity within the error category, where coins possessing the strongest doubling effect become exponentially more valuable, especially when accompanied by faultless luster and minimal wear. But the mystery does not end there, because another significant element that has stunned experts is the unusual strike-through material that affected a cluster of 2012 D nickels during the mid-year production batch, and this strike-through manifests as jagged depressions across Jefferson's face, as though a foreign material made contact with the planchette at the precise moment of strike, leaving deep, crater-like impressions that distort the portrait in a way that no normal circulation damage ever could. And many experts believe these strike-through impressions occurred when fine metal shavings or industrial debris became lodged between the die and planchette, creating a unique physical footprint that no automated polishing procedure could replicate, making each of these coins practically fingerprint-level unique. And when numismatists talk about rarity, they don't just refer to a limited mintage number, they refer to coins that bear errors with a very small probability of replication, coins that capture a moment in the minting process frozen in metal. And the 2012 D5 cent delivers that exact kind of rarity on multiple technical fronts, because further examination revealed another jaw-dropping and highly unusual defect, an off-center strike bordering the rim, with some examples showing the rim cut off or partially missing, causing Jefferson's portrait and the surrounding text to shift off axis, sometimes by as much as 5 to 10%, which is especially significant given that most off-center strikes that leave the mint are quickly caught in quality checks. But in this instance, certain defective coins clearly bypassed inspection thresholds and entered circulation, presenting collectors with a truly astonishing phenomenon where money literally slipped through the quality assurance cracks and found its way into the hands of everyday people who may have unknowingly held a treasure worth millions. And perhaps the most mythic of these examples is the coin that has been whispered about by private collectors at closed-door conferences, the so-called triple anomaly piece, which is said to contain strong doubling, deep strike-through impressions and an aggressive off-center strike all on the same coin, a combination that does not just happen, but is the result of a truly catastrophic production sequence, something so extreme that numismatists have compared it to the alignment of celestial bodies. And the market reacted to this in dramatic fashion when word spread that a high-level private investor, known for acquiring historically important numismatic artifacts, offered an astonishing $1,010 million valuation, not because of the metal composition or age, but because of its unmatched position in the hierarchy of modern minting mistakes, setting a precedent that has caused collectors, institutions, and museums to reevaluate how they classify contemporary coinage. And the reason such an astronomical figure is possible goes far beyond hype or rumor. It is rooted in the fundamental psychology of rarity and the economics of unique ownership, because owning a singular coin, the only one of its type, the only one known to bear a true-layer of minting failures in a modern context, is tantamount to owning a relic that no one else on Earth can obtain, a piece of history whose value is limited not by material but by exclusivity, narrative, and provenance. And while skeptics argue that The 2012 D5 cent cannot logically command such sums because it lacks historical age. These critics misunderstand how the numismatic market has evolved, because modern minting errors, particularly ones that occur in the tightly controlled environment of the US Mint where tolerances are extremely strict, are arguably more valuable than those of prior centuries, simply because the probability of flawed coins escaping the automated inspection systems has plummeted, making each anomaly a statistical miracle, and collectors who specialize in error series coins know that rare combinations of defects from the 21st century carry massive premiums, especially when they are verified, authenticated, and graded by elite third-party certification labs. And so when one considers the landscape of the 2012 D5 cent, we are dealing with a convergence of error types, manufacturing anomalies, and provenance secrecy that pushes this small nickel into the upper echelon of collectible assets, where demand is driven by advanced buyers who are no longer purchasing coins merely because of their monetary face value, but as investments, legacy items, and cultural artifacts that tell stories of human oversight, mechanical unpredictability, and the chaotic potential of industrial processes. And this coin continues to haunt conversations in numismatic communities because no one knows exactly how many defective examples may exist, whether there are hidden in bankrolls, tucked in drawers, sitting unnoticed in pocket change, or preserved in mint sets by collectors who never thought to inspect them carefully. And because of that uncertainty, an additional element of excitement and possibility surrounds the 2012 D nickel, making everyday people dream of finding one in the wild, and fueling a global hunt that spans coin dealers, auction houses, TikTok numismatic influencers, and antique vault collectors, each chasing a chance to secure a coin that blurs the line between industrial accident and priceless artifact. And when we step back and ask ourselves why errors matter so much, the answer becomes clear. Every mistake tells a story. Every flaw is a fragment of human imperfection transformed into metal, and the 2012 D5 cent is the perfect embodiment of that story. Living proof that perfection is overrated and that sometimes it is the anomalies, the glitches, the unexpected deviations from precision that become immortalized as treasures, preserved not only in the vaults of wealthy investors, but in the imaginations of anyone who has ever reached into their pocket and wondered if their change contained something more than face value, something mythical, something capable of rewriting their destiny in a single moment of discovery. Last 1997 D5 cent USA coin. Today we are diving into the fascinating story of the 1997 D5 cent coin, a Jefferson nickel from the Denver Mint that collectors whisper about in hushed tones because of the remarkable errors and mistakes found on some specimens, leading to a valuation that some believe could reach an astonishing $115 million for a perfect storm example. And while that number may sound unbelievable, the reasons behind its desirability are rooted not only in rarity but in the unpredictable intersection of minting flaws, collector demand, and pure numismatic luck that together create a perfect blend of intrigue, mystery, and immense value for those lucky enough to stumble across one of these unique coins. So stay with me as we sink into the fascinating world of minting errors, unusual metal compositions, die breakdowns, and accidental production chaos that transformed this seemingly ordinary 1997 D5 cent piece into one of the most talked about error nickels in American modern coinage history, beginning with the fundamentals of how errors create value in numismatics, because collectors do not merely collect shiny metal discs stamped by machines, they hunt for history, anomalies, accidents, and incredibly rare mint-produced mistakes that slip past quality control and into circulation like disguised treasures that only the most observant eyes can spot. And that is exactly what makes the 1997 D nickel such a captivating target, as Denver minted hundreds of millions of nickels that year, but only a microfraction may carry the legendary combination of defects that magnify value to unimaginable heights, including off-center strikes, planchette flaws, die cracks, double dies, unintentional overpolishing, and even wrong planchette errors that have become some of the most desirable categories among collectors worldwide. Starting with double die obverse examples of the 1997 D5 cent, where the portrait of Thomas Jefferson shows subtle but undeniable duplication in his hair, He steps on the collar and even the inscription areas of Liberty or I in God We Trust. Minting errors caused by misalignment during hubbing when the die impresses the design onto the blank surface, and instead of one clean imprint, a faint second impression appears, resulting in doubled letters or split details that run across Jefferson's silhouette like ghost images from another dimension, and this kind of doubling is instantly noticeable to trained eyes or collectors. Armed with magnifying lenses, because the split lines, shadowed text, and doubled strokes do not appear naturally in normal circulation coins, making them dramatically more desirable and drastically more valuable, particularly when the mistake is bold and unmistakable. And in the 1997 D. Nichols case, some collectors claim examples exist that show extreme doubling on Jefferson's eye socket, nose, and chin, creating a surreal and almost sculptural effect that looks like two faces merging into one. A mesmerizing phenomenon that drives auction price speculation sky high and fuels rumors of multi-million-dollar value potential for pristine era specimens. And that is only the beginning, because other examples present off-center strikes where the entire design of the coin is slightly shifted, sometimes by 2 or 3%, but in rarer instances by more than 50%, leading to a half-empty blank section on the planchette where the design never touched, while the rest of Jefferson's bust leans awkwardly toward the rim as if squeezed outward by some unseen force, and the inscriptions may be clipped or distorted, further adding to the rarity factor. And when off-center strikes exceed certain thresholds yet still contain readable mint marks, date, and inscriptions, collectors pay astronomical sums because they represent dramatic deviations from the intended minting process, which is exactly why a perfectly off-centered 1997 D5 cent, especially one with crisp edges and minimal wear, can attract staggering auction bids, as such coins visually scream rarity, openly showcasing the mistake that plagued their production and granting collectors the unique privilege of owning something that should not have existed, forming the foundation of the $115 million valuation narrative that passes through the corridors of numismatic circles like a legend whispered among experts and enthusiasts alike, who know that such extreme errors almost never escape into public hands. And yet, when they do, they become the holy grail of pocket change hunting. But perhaps the most astonishing aspect of the 1997 D. Nickel lies in the rumor, speculation, and occasional confirmation of wrong planchette strikes, where instead of being minted on the correct copper-nickel composition that corresponds to Jefferson nickels, some specimens may have been accidentally struck on dime planchets or even on blanks meant for foreign currencies, creating lightweight or undersized coins that still bear Jefferson's image but feel strangely slim, shiny, or muted depending on the metal surface, and these accidental mismatches can yield differences in weight measurable to the 10th of a gram. And when that occurs, collectors scramble like treasure hunters who have found gold in a riverbed, because wrong planchette errors represent manufacturing chaos that cannot easily be replicated or predicted. They become singular events trapped in metal, the result of machines misfed with incorrect blanks, or human oversight that allowed one coin to slip through the cracks into the wild, where some unsuspecting cashier or coin roller might hand it to you for change, never realizing the astronomical value they are passing along in that tiny, worn disc. And it is this possibility, the thought that the $115 million 1997 D. Nickel could be sitting in a jar, a wallet, or an old drawer, that ignites the imagination of collectors everywhere, encouraging beginners to examine nickels more closely than they ever have before, because even the smallest imperfections can transform into immense worth based on severity, visibility, and uniqueness. And the drama does not end there, because die cracks on the reverse side, especially around Monticello's roof, stairs, or columns, create jagged, lightning-like lines that streak across the coin's surface like miniature scars, lending personality and distinguishing features to coins that would otherwise be identical. And when these cracks expand into more severe die breaks or cuds, where pieces of the die physically fall away, leaving gaping blobs of raised metal that distort Monticello's structure, collectors pay huge premiums for the boldness of the defect, especially if the coin remains clean and well preserved, because such cuds represent the moment the mint's machinery was literally falling apart, imprinting its deterioration onto the nickel and turning that coin into a witness of industrial failure, a metal diary written by the mint's negligence. And when you add all these possibilities together, double die obverse, extreme off-center strikes, wrong planches, die cracks, die cuts and misaligned lettering, you begin to understand why a mythical perfect storm example of the 1997 D5 cent could command theoretical values in the 9-digit range for collectors who crave the utmost rarity, because it would represent not only mint-era perfection but a once-in-a-century combination of flaws that elevate the coin into legend. And when you mix in factors such as condition, grading and provenance, the potential becomes even greater as exceptional examples graded by top-tier organizations command premiums well beyond their flawed competitors, especially when they exhibit full detail, clean surfaces, and no post-mint damage, because preservation is king in coin collecting, and a high-grade era coin is like a priceless archaeological artifact that remains untouched by time, more desirable, more rare and more financially explosive. And moment by moment the story of this 1997 D nickel becomes more than just a tale of accidental production. It becomes a symbol of human imperfection embedded within precision machinery, a testament to the fact that even in a system designed to produce millions of identical coins with clockwork precision, chaos can emerge, slip through unnoticed and enter circulation where it may be found years or decades later by someone who pauses for just a moment to look closer, to turn the nickel in the light, to examine the spacing of the letters or the depth of Jefferson's eyes, and when that person finally recognizes the rare treasure they hold, the world of numismatics opens its arms wide, ready to witness yet another remarkable discovery, one that may redefine value, rewrite records, and inspire millions of others to start checking their change, because hidden within the nickels of 1997, lies the thrilling possibility of a $115 million miracle waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover it, and that is why the 1997 D5 cent story continues to captivate, because it blends ambition, rarity, art, technology, and luck into one unforgettable narrative that speaks to collectors everywhere, urging them never to ignore even the humblest of coins that pass through their hands, for inside each one may lie the next historic treasure, a gateway to fortune and a reminder that the smallest mistakes can sometimes become the greatest rewards.